Is servant leadership an oxymoron? I am Dr. Selladurai, School of Business and Economics. At first impression, servant leadership looks like it's an oxymoron, but it's not so. Servant and leader are both integrated concepts. Leader and serving go together too. AT&T's Robert Greenleaf coined this term about 50 years ago, similar to AT&T's slogan which says, reach out and touch someone. Servant leadership is a much needed skill today and for tomorrow for the workforce. It also has innovative and strong impact on effective teamwork, productivity, and performance. This graphic best illustrates what a servant leader does. A servant leader raises the performance of his or her team leader. How do they do that? Several ways that they can use to customize to each team member's SWOT analysis. You lift up the team member, encourage them positively, applying Victor Vroom's expectancy principles. My dean, Dr. Cindy Roberts, recently raised our performance, my colleague Charlie Hobson's and my performance when we did our healthcare reform book project. The first key principle is sacrificial leadership. Examples and applications include Dr. Kent Brantley, 2020 healthcare frontline workers, companies like Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby. Let's hear from two IU-trained servant leaders.
And I want to suggest that the reason so many of you wrote about compassion in those essays is not just because that's what students who want to get into medical school say. Rather, many of those essays focus on compassion because compassion is at the heart of the profession of medicine. Compassion, from the Latin to suffer with. In ancient Greek, the verb to have compassion on comes from the word splenidzomai, to be moved in the inward parts. It's where we get our word splenknick. Compassion it's a visceral image. It doesn't mean to feel sorry for somebody, or to have pity on, or to give charity to. Compassion means to be moved in your inward parts, to relinquish your own right to comfort and safety, and to step into the suffering of another. And isn't that exactly what physicians do? We give up the comfort of a 9-to-5, Monday to Friday job in order to enter into the suffering of others. We give up our nights and weekends to be on call for other people's emergencies. We take care of people with deadly disease despite the risk to our own health. When everyone else is running away in fear, we stay to help, to offer healing and hope. I moved to Liberia with my family in October of 2013 because within this general calling of compassion that we all share as physicians, I felt a unique calling to use my skills to practice my profession in a place with the greatest of need, among the most vulnerable people.
Hi, my name is Rashini Selladurai, and I'm a family medicine physician working in Minneapolis, Minnesota right now. When the COVID-19 pandemic first hit, I was finishing up my family medicine residency at a program called In His Image in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I remember just everything happening and our schedules completely shifted, and we were suddenly decided to become the COVID clinic for all of Tulsa. And, we were seeing the news and everything, all the reports of everything happening around the world, just like everyone else. And so I remember being very nervous about working that clinic the very first day that we were opening. But I also remember just looking around and just being in awe and so inspired, seeing so many other people in the medical community at our program and just in the community at large and in the world at large, really, who were just showing such sacrificial acts of servant leadership, putting their own lives at risk, going into the trouble, into the the danger in a way that we hadn't really had to in recent years. When I was a medical student at Indiana University, I remember Dr. Kent Brantley had given a commencement speech a couple years before I graduated, and he had talked about that this is what this profession is, that when you enter the medical profession, you're entering a profession where when others will run away from the trouble, we choose to run towards it. And it's not just the medical community, it was all frontline workers that we saw show up in such big ways last year and display servant leadership. The kind of leadership that says, I'm going to put the needs of others before my own, that says, I'm going to show up to my job, or perhaps it meant I'm going to stay home and protect others by staying home, and quarantining. And it was just, I think, an incredible time in our world where there was so much fear, there was so much chaos, there was a lot of isolation, but there was also just such a display of compassion, and there was just this beautiful time where I think the community showed up together, and we saw the beauty of what happens when people choose to lead in a way that displays their servant heart.
The second principle is leadership by example. Millennials are the leaders of the future. They are looking for an example to follow. We have several good examples today. Pat Gelsinger from Intel, Doug McMillan, Walmart, Roy Vagelos, ex-CEO President of Merck, Cheryl Batchelder, ex-CEO of Popeyes and with Chick-fil-A today. Research says you and I are the average of 5 most impactful influencers. Who are your 5 major influencers? Who are the 5 people that inspire you, impact you, or influence you the most, and why? What attributes or behaviors have had sustainable impact on you? For more information, please review Servant Leadership and Research and Practice by Sean Caraha, my colleague, who used to be at IUN some years ago, as well as myself, Rajan Selladurai. I also have put down the 2 links to Servant Leadership Project as well as the Healthcare Reform Book Project. Thank you.